What's up world, Talon Typhoon here, bringing you the second video in our series Nintendo Moving Forward, where today we're going to be talking about primarily Nintendo's future moving forward with digital gaming versus physical in-game cartridges, like they've been doing since the very beginning. And we'll even be talking about some of the pros and cons about the digital and physical game, on which ones you'll want and why one may be better for you and one may not be better for you. We'll also be talking about the different retailers and what they're bringing to the actual table when it comes to the Nintendo sales. And in some good news today, Nintendo sales have officially bumped up to be passing the Nintendo 3DS with the Nintendo Switch sales, bringing the original sale of the Nintendo 3DS at 76 million sales, and the Nintendo Switch is now at 80 million sales, which is finally a very good sign, seeing as the Nintendo 3DS was one of the very best handheld gaming consoles to actually ever sell, and they have now officially passed it, with now their mark being 100 million sales as their goal to officially surpass the Nintendo Wii, which was one of the very big consoles. Now, over the years when the Nintendo Switch was being developed, they took a lot of the different things from both of these two categories and put them together to make the Nintendo Switch. Even though they've already told us that we're not going to be receiving a new Nintendo Switch Pro coming up this year, and instead we'll be receiving some of the variants like the Mario variant, as well as the Monster Hunter variant of the consoles coming later in this year, possibly during the holidays, if they can still make the actual deadlines. Now, if we actually look at the physical versus the digital retail space, we can see with the current market trends, Nintendo has been sliding pretty heavily into the digital realm with their own Nintendo Switch marketplace in place to sell their first-party IPs as well as their third-party IPs that have been brought to this console. Over the years, Nintendo has been placing a heavy focus on trying to bring as many third-party games to their console, with the Nintendo Switch being the #1 console with third-party games currently out to this date, which, if you are a fan of third-party games, then this is definitely the console for you. If you don't have a PC to go ahead and get it off of Steam, the Nintendo Switch is definitely the console you're going to want at the best price point to be able to get that to you. Now, if we look at our physical in-game cartridges that we're getting from Nintendo, which we've been primarily receiving cartridges from the Nintendo 3DS line for a very long time, with discs usually being what they use for their normal physical consoles. They're now using cartridges for the Nintendo Switch, which is a very high valued collector's item in the eyes of the Nintendo community, seeing as the collector's community and Nintendo have been working hand in hand for quite some time, especially on IP such as Pokemon. Now, if we actually look at their digital retail space right now, we can see that they're definitely pushing heavily Super Mario 3D All-Stars currently, where you can get a copy of Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy, which will be available on the Nintendo Switch eShop all the way up to March 30th. Which is a good thing and a bad thing, giving collectors a chance to actually get to play these games on the Nintendo Switch, which they haven't been able to do for quite some time now. Now being able to do that is going to be a very good thing, as well as make it collectible, especially making a deadline time of March 31st as the day that you can last get it before it's going to be gone off of the eShop, and we may never actually get it again. We'll just have to see. Now, if we actually look at the retailers that Nintendo has been working with selling its products, we can see that they've been using places like GameStop, Walmart, Target, Best Buy for quite some time to actually push their products. Now, they do have to pay a cut to these companies in order to get their games on the shelf, and it does cost them more to get a physical copy out and delivered to these companies, which makes it their margins every year go down quite a bit. So it's not exactly in Nintendo's best interest to continue using them. However, they do bring quite a bit of value to the actual marketplace for Nintendo, with the act of being able to showroom all of their products and video games in store, especially in Best Buys and in GameStops, where you can do this, where they'll have a little terminal set up with the TV along with the console and a few demo games or even a few games on them for you to actually try out before you actually take the time and money to actually buy these consoles and games to see if you like them first. Now this is very big, seeing as there's quite a few games out there now on the eShop that don't actually have a demo for you to play, and a lot of the demos that Nintendo has been making has been leaking data quite a bit lately, so I don't know if we're ever going to really see a lot of these demos come out for some of these games such as Pokemon and Zelda, seeing as they're going to be trying to protect their IP and all of the information before their set dates for them to be released in order to be controlled by Nintendo, which is their right to do, and I believe that they should continue to do, because they've always been the best at rolling out some of these games, especially when it comes to midnight releases on their eShop for everyone to play, and being able to maintain their online service to actually be able to maintain the actual download it takes for you to be able to get these games. Now, when we look at the pros and cons of actually doing their digital model that they're trying to do, it actually brings their margins up quite a bit to where they're going to be able to charge $60 for their actual first-party titles, as well as a set amount by the third-party developer depending on the game that they made in their set categories. Now, on the actual consumer side, if you go to buy the digital copy, once you buy it, you won't have an actual physical thing to resell, and it'll just be data on your system, which is another problem that a lot of people may have, seeing as the Nintendo Switch does not actually come with quite a bit of physical memory for it, but does come with a slot for you to insert a micro SD card, which today you can get quite a big micro SD cards out on the market, even though you can't really hook up a hard drive to the Nintendo Switch, even though I'm sure you could probably figure out a way, even though it may not be the best way. Right now the micro SD card seems to be the best solution, and a lot of these Nintendo games aren't as big as some of these games coming out from Microsoft and Sony, where they're being 113 gigabytes each. A lot of these games are probably in the realm of about 5.6 gigabytes to about 24 gigabytes on their biggest IPs that you can actually get. So currently I've not had any problems outside of using the micro SD card on storage space. You can always just remove it if you need to. However, moving forward into the future, as we get bigger and bigger games coming out, the file sizes do come up, which has already become a problem for gaming consoles like the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, which recently just came out, and people are already having problems with storage space moving forward. And when it comes to buying these hard drives and micro SD cards over time, they start to really add up, versus if you were to just buy a physical in-game cartridge, even though they do usually still require you to have a lot of storage space for once you actually download and set up the game to actually have it be in a playable state. Now, if we actually look at how expensive it will be moving forward for a digital gaming console moving forward, it might be worth the actual time and effort to actually be buying these SD cards, so that way you don't have to physically be carrying around all of your games all the time. I know personally I've been moving towards an all digital gaming concept, even though I've had some problems with the digital downloads with the Nintendo Switch being too large and then timing out. However, that was a few years ago, and I haven't seen that problem since, so I think they have done quite a bit of work to actually move that forward and out. Now, if you like this episode this week, guys, make sure you leave a big like for this video to help out with the algorithm, and don't forget to subscribe. And this week I want you guys to tell me what exactly is a game you guys want to see come out this year on the Nintendo Switch for 2021, and will you be buying it physically or will you be buying it digitally? But until next time, guys, this is Talon Typhoon, and I will see you next time.